All right, what's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome to the daily live stream. Do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button when you come in. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I hope everybody has had a good day, having a good evening, chilling, being with your loved ones, having a good time. Same rules of engagement, guys. Make sure when you come in, you hit that like button. Make sure when you're in the chat, you interact with each other, share your opinion. We want to know it. Make sure that you are respectful to all mods, all subscribers, all supporters. If I or my mods catch you disrespecting anybody in the chat, that's the only thing that'll get you banned and or censored here. We don't do that over here. Let's behave. Let's act like we got an IQ higher than room temperature. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Yeah, let's get into the live stream, guys. I got a couple of things on the menu for us to watch that I'm excited about. Pam Bondi Senate hearing. She got grilled a couple times. I played a couple of clips the day prior, not yesterday, because yesterday I cut it short. I was having internet issues again, so I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to jump back on because I hate when live streams get interrupted. So I just let that short video be that you guys can see up there now. I think it's like 14 minutes, my live stream from yesterday. But the day prior to that, I did play a couple of Pam Bondi's Senate hearing situations, and it was a little crazy. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch some of that now, but it's also reactions. So we got a couple of people. We got a couple of people coming at her. We got a couple of people just asking her questions. I have, I guess you could say, an amalgamation of clips put together in one that we're gonna watch. So we're gonna jump right into that. And then we also got Bill O'Reilly talking about Bad Bunny's money. Apparently, Bill O'Reilly has caught on to the fact that Bad Bunny is not just a small-time artist. So I thought this was super cool for Bill O'Reilly to bring attention to this. He has covered rappers in the past throughout his and earlier in his career. That's part of the reason why I know who Bill O'Reilly is. Then we got Nick Fuentes on the Super Bowl show. I thought Nick's take on the Super Bowl show was hilarious. I mean, he was clearly trying to be funny and trolling a little bit, but nonetheless, we're gonna listen to what he had to say. So, all right, let's jump in. We're gonna go to Pam Bondi's clips first. Here we go.
January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly...
Today, Pam Bondi testified before the House Judiciary Committee. We watched it, so you don't have to. It looked like this.
Does that answer your question?
No, not even a little bit.
Then our work here is done.
Okay, that wasn't literally Pam Bondi. That was Saturday Night Live. But it was very much like that, in that Pam Bondi did what Pam Bondi does. That is, she lied, she deflected, she did everything but answer the questions. She insulted members of the House Judiciary Committee. But the House Committee, I think, learned from her appearance before the Senate that this would be her game plan, and they came prepared. You might remember when Bondi testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, instead of answering questions, she one after another just insulted the Democratic members of the committee who asked her legitimate oversight questions.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are...
To flag...
Asked her legitimate oversight questions.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
So the House came prepared for her usual insults and deflection. Not that it necessarily stopped Bondi from doing her usual obstruction. So there was the deflection where she would point to anything but her own responsibility. A constant refrain during the hearing was Pam Bondi blaming Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Mr. Chairman,
Why?
I have asked.
Didn't she ask Merrick Garland this? Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein.
And then there was the necessary flattery of Donald Trump in answer to questions because she wants to keep her job, and that's obligatory. Here she is making a lot of false compliments of her boss.
They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year. All the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. This has been the most transparent presidency.
And probably most laughable in terms of the deflections, here she is talking about the Dow.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing.
I'm not gonna lie, I was dying, like I was cooked when she said that. When she brought up like where the Dow was at and everybody starts laughing, and then she says, I don't know why you're laughing, I hear you're a great trader. I'm like, wow, shots fired. Because at the end of the day, like it's like they hate the fact that she's deflecting so much and she's not answering the question. But if you're honest, like it's pretty comical at the same time. Because I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen Pam Bondi do this much deflecting. I mean, I want to say I guess we do see it in her press conferences, but I'm like, I guess it was just magnified because she was at a hearing, and it's just kind of crazy. I was like, wow, when I say to you guys that I was cooked, because when this lady does not want to answer a question, she's just flat out like, yeah, I'm not discussing any of that with you. She's like, President Trump, we have the best stock market right now that we ever had in history. And I'm like, oh, this can't be life. Like, you can't make this up.
Records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about
And
Trump has done it in 1 year. All the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. This has been the most transparent presidency.
And probably most laughable in terms of the deflections, here she is talking about the Dow.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
But let's go through some of the highlights or lowlights of the questioning of Pam Bondi. First, let's look at Pramila Jayapal from Washington State. She asked if there were victims present in the hearing room. There were. Here's what that looked like.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General
Twice.
Bondi,
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you specific questions. This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice.
She accused Jayapal of getting down in the gutter or theatrics, but we saw nothing but theatrics from Bondi today. No real answers to that question, no apology, no acceptance of responsibility. Once again, deflection to Merrick Garland. One other really interesting thing came out during Jayapal's questioning of Bondi, and that is this photograph taken by the press. Now, what that photograph reveals is that when Jayapal, and presumably when other members have gone to the Justice Department to review the unredacted files, that their search history, that is what documents they were searching for in the files, was secretly being recorded by Pam Bondi's Justice Department. They were basically surveilling the work that members of Congress were doing to find out what the Justice Department was hiding. That is just another appalling abuse by the Justice Department. Another key interchange during the hearing took place when Jerry Nadler of New York asked Bondi how many people had been investigated or prosecuted by the Justice Department in connection with these crimes against minors.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
Chairman
How many have you
Jordan, I'm not
indicted?
going to get in the gutter with these people,
How many
but
have you-
I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time
I
belongs.
think it's
You're gonna answer
theatrics first.
Justice Department in connection with these crimes against minors.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
Oh my God, dude. She's having a whole temper tantrum right there. That's hilarious to me. Okay, so this is where like some of the deflection was like crazy work to me. Because I'm like, Pam, all you had to do was say a number. Like, this is not hard. Like, when Cash does this, it annoys me too. Like, just say a number. He just said how many. She literally could have said up to 25. And the fact that she literally had pretty much a temper tantrum. I'm not gonna say she didn't handle herself well. I'm like, dude, like this was hilarious to watch. Like, if you guys didn't watch all of this Senate hearing, you need to go back and watch some of this. I mean, I think Pam did well. We could see a couple times where she got frustrated with them, but I mean, hey, at the same time, there was times where she did get caught up because of the way that they were questioning her.
theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
Chairman
How many have you
Jordan, I'm not
indicted?
going to get in the gutter with these people,
How
but
many have
I'm
you-
going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time
I
belongs.
think it's very
Reclaiming
interesting.
my time.
I think it's very
Reclaiming my
interesting.
time.
And you can
when
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they
Reclaiming my time,
indicted,
Mr.
the
Chairman.
president said they
Close the
indicted
clock.
him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock
did.
and stop the
he
clock and
indicted-
restore his time.
Okay, here we go with
Committee
these
will be in order.
theatrics.
So during that questioning where Jerry Nadler's just trying to get an answer, she's attacking Nadler. She then attacks Raskin, attacks his legal credentials. Really, Pam Bondi attacking Jamie Raskin over his legal credentials and expertise. Pam Bondi, this hack made for TV lawyer, is questioning. I'm sorry, it's just too absurd to be believed, but
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
another telling interchange took place.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Another telling.
Dude, she just said, you don't tell me anything, you washed up loser lawyer. I didn't even catch that the first time I watched this. I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, they definitely had Pam irritated here.
Interchange took place with Joe Neguse of Colorado. Joe Neguse asked about some of the people Pam Bondi has brought in, has hired in the Justice Department, including the men seen in this video.
Hey, you guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't see it. You're chasing your pension, right? Pension. Your retirement, right? That's what runs your life. Your retirement. The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you.
The man in that video, the one who is in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling, "Kill him," at police officers on January 6th, his name is Jared Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the Department of
he
Justice.
He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, and interfering with police with the intent to commit another felony. This is who you choose as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States of America to hire at the Department of Justice.
I believe he was pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned.
That was her answer. Pardon this guy, threatening police officers, charged with crimes in connection with January 6th, and yes, they hired him. Another powerful interchange came when Ted Lieu asked about this footage with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls?
Pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned.
That was her answer.
I didn't really know how to take that part, because even though he said like, oh, he was pardoned, like I get where they were going with that, you know, but at the same time, someone could look at that and say, well, yeah, he was pardoned. So technically speaking, he wasn't guilty of the crime, or the president felt that it wasn't necessary for those charges to stick to him. So, you know, they removed it. So we have, you know, the representative here like, oh, so because he was pardoned, then that makes it okay. I mean, I don't think this was one right here where I felt like they kind of backed Pam into a corner, and regardless of how she answered, it wasn't going to be good enough, just because they already had the footage of like how this guy was being with ICE, and I'm like, yeah, this already looks bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already got him like getting pretty hyped, like as people get more aggressive towards ICE. You got him saying, I don't know if he actually says kill them. Like, I went back a couple of times the day prior when we were watching this, and I had the captions on. It looks like the captions are saying that he's saying kill him, but when I'm watching his mouth, like, I don't know if I actually see that. But I felt like this was one of the worst ones where they kind of backed Pam into a corner and she didn't have much of an answer, because this just looked bad. Like, the fact that this same guy worked for them, I was like, oh, this is a horrible setup.
Pardon this guy, threatening police officers, charged with crimes in connection with January 6th, and yes, they hired him. Another powerful interchange came when Ted Lieu asked about this footage with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime, that they are trying to.
I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying.
See, like, I mean, like, I'm gonna keep playing this so you guys can see, but I went back because, like, look at this reaction. I don't like this reaction. Like, I'm like, Pam, like, these are moments where I felt like she was having temper tantrums, right? Like, she could have just said, you know, I don't know, maybe based on what we've seen, you know, too, or there's no evidence that President Trump was actually there. But she's just like, this is ridiculous. And then she starts to like flip out. You can hear the tone in her voice change. I mean, rightfully so. I get it. She's sick of it. She feels like they're not focusing on the right thing. But I still don't think the stock market was the right thing to bring up during her trial. I still don't think that.
A party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein.
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency.
Now, Ted went on to basically call Pam Bondi a liar, which is what she is. And we got the same faux outrage from Pam Bondi, and Ted Lieu handled that beautifully. Here's that scene.
Because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. he overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
Now, in case you think all of the pushback to Bondi and the Justice Department's terrible handling of the Epstein...
So this was another one when Ted Lieu pulled that specific document up. I mean, I hate the number of redactions that we see, but when he pulled that specific document up talking about the young girl having like her head blown off, I was like, oh God, of course he's gonna go for this one. Like, because this is like the worst case scenario. I feel like one of the worst case scenarios he could have brought up, and then he follows up with, you know, if you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing. This is yet again this was another spot where I felt like that they had her pretty good. Like, I was like, this doesn't look good, Pam.
Files came from Democrats. There was at least one Republican with the courage to stand up to Pam Bondi and demand better for the victims of Epstein's crimes. And that was Thomas Massie of Kentucky, one of the authors of the discharge petition and the legislation to require the release of the Epstein files.
Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer?
Now, the hearing today rightfully focused on the Epstein files and the terrible handling of the Epstein files by Pam Bondi, all her lies about it. Bondi was also asked about Howard Lutnick and his ties to Epstein and his lies about those ties. And here was her deflection about Lutnick.
Yes or no, has the Justice Department asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Epstein?
Excuse me. Secretary Lutnick has addressed those ties himself.
I'm asking you, has the Justice Department specifically asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
He has addressed those ties himself.
It was basically to question what his ties really mean, but what it demonstrated was there was no interest, no willingness to look in their own house in this administration for their own complicity, relationships, ties to this child sex trafficker, even after Epstein had been convicted of trafficking minors. Now, this hearing was rightfully focused on the Epstein files. But one very important area of oversight was also necessary, and I don't think it got fully explored to the degree it should have. And that is the fact that under Pam Bondi's leadership, the Justice Department just tried to indict 6 of my Senate and House colleagues. Tried to indict them for the offense of speaking the truth. That is, of saying that members of the military do not have to follow illegal orders. Indeed, they have a duty not to. And for making that plainly truthful statement, Pam Bondi's Justice Department tried to charge them as criminals. That may be the single worst abuse of this department so far. And that is going to require its own investigation and oversight. Someone has to be held accountable for the abuse of power, the weaponization of this department. If that doesn't come now, because Republicans are just turning the other way when their colleagues are being wrongfully investigated, if that's not going to happen in this Congress, it will happen in the next, when that Congress changes with a different majority. So thanks for watching tonight's video. We started doing these nightly videos as a way of identifying something really important that happened today or this week, what we should make of it, and
we just completed this heat pump installation for a homeowner who wanted to cut their heating costs.
All right, we're going to go to one more viral clip that happened when Pam Bondi got frustrated with somebody and they were called a washed up loser and or lawyer, but this is more of an isolated clip. Then we're going to jump over to Bill O'Reilly talking about Bad Bunny's money. I guess he didn't know exactly how much money he had, right? He says he sold 24 million books and Bad Bunny has sold 124 million albums. So yeah, we're going to get into that. That's the next clip with Bill O'Reilly, but let's go to this last clip with Pam Bondi first.
An upgrade to the
president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
You're
This
from
is
a tiny,
pathetic. This
beautiful
is
state.
pathetic, Mr.
Committee will be in
Chair.
order.
I am not asking trick questions here. The
got your
American
5
people
minutes.
have a right to know the answers to this.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch.
Reclaim-
Not on our time. No way.
Reclaim-
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you
Bro, I
even
can't, bro.
investigating?
Like, I don't know. I know courtroom etiquette is a real thing, but it is hilarious to hear the Attorney General. Like, it is hilarious to hear Pam Bondi respond like this. I'm like, dude, this is like...
In order.
How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to
Yes.
answer the question
How-
the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're gonna answer the
theatrics are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
Chairman
How many have you
Jordan, I'm not
indicted?
going to get in the gutter with these people,
How many
but
have you-
I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming
me.
my time.
The time
I
belongs.
think it's very
Reclaiming
interesting.
my time.
I think it's very
Reclaiming my
interesting.
time.
And you can
When
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they
Reclaiming my time,
indicted,
Mr.
the
Chairman.
president said they
Close the
indicted
clock.
him
Mr.
twice.
Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock
did.
and
And
stop
they
the clock and
indicted-
restore his
oh,
time.
okay, here we go with these
Committee will be in order.
theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentleman
back
from
the
New
clock,
York.
please.
We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when
Reclaiming
you ask
my-
a question, the
The
witness
question
gets to
was-
answer. You may not like the answer, but she
Right.
gets to
The
answer.
question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like
Recla-
the answer, Chairman,
my time.
because it's honest.
Reclaiming-
So he asked a
Reclaiming my
4-minute
time.
question.
Restore 45
and
seconds,
I
Mr.
am
Nadler,
going
please,
to
Mr. Chairman.
answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch.
Reclaiming-
Not on our time. No way.
Reclaiming-
And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me
Yeah, oh, I
anything,
did tell you because we
washed
saw
up
what you did in the
loser
Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I
Not a
said that
few more,
already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler. Go
All
ahead.
right.
Reclaiming my time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0. You have been the Attorney General for a whole year, and your DOJ fired the lead prosecutor of this case, sat on evidence this entire time, and claimed falsely last July that there were no more leads. It took an act of Congress for you to finally release part of the Epstein files, and when you did, you included personal information about the victims while protecting the names of abusers.
Time of the gentleman
None of
has
the perpetrators
expired.
have been brought to justice, but enormous resources
Time of the
dedicated to
gentleman has
pursuing Trump's
expired,
enemies.
and
It's
obviously
clear
there
that was-
was-
under your leadership, the Department of Justice
There was
no longer
no
works
question
for
in
American
there.
people. It works
Order
for
respond
Donald
to.
Trump. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
First, he brought up the president saying they indicted me twice. They sure did. They tried to impeach him twice. And you, Mr. Nadler, were one of the leads on the impeachment. I was on the other side. I lived that with you. During impeachment, you said the president conspired, sought foreign interference in the 2016 election. Robert Mueller found no evidence, none, of foreign interference in 2016. Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized to President Trump, all of you who participated in those impeachment hearings against Donald Trump? You all should be apologizing. You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. You know, all they want to do, the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today. This has been around since the Obama administration. This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know what?
I mean, here it is. Like it or love it. She said it, and it is what it is. Nobody brought it up during Obama. She's like, we act like this is something that's brand new. We act like this is something that just happened under Donald Trump. I mean, it is what it is. Like, but we know, what's the running joke? Obama runs the world, right? Yeah, right.
Why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does the Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
Hello, my name's Jacob Elijah.
I'm sorry that we redacted the victim's
Because you were following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew.
So like when I first saw this scene, I said, here we go. This is gonna be another one of those points where Pam loses it, because as soon as I saw this picture, I said, oh God, here we go.
Andrew, so I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I reclaim that time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that?
Trump. I want to move on to another question.
Can I answer your question about protecting?
You answered the question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's the video. Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I reclaim my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock. Stop the clock.
Legislation. This is ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is on videotape. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called.
Dude, you can tell, like, Pam's about to lose it. Like, this is where it got funny for me, because she's like, don't you ever. I mean, we see here a couple times where they have her on edge, where she literally is about to lose it. But I think overall, she did okay. There were just a couple times where they did back her into a corner, and I was like, this doesn't look good. Like when they were putting up the photos of Prince Harry, certain things with Trump, when they put up the document about the young lady who got her head blown off with all the redactions. There were a couple times where it didn't look so great. I think overall she did okay, but nonetheless, like this just doesn't look good. Like some of the stuff he's asking, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, God, Pam, why didn't you just like say a number or something? Because then the theatrics start.
Called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell. So should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question,
He
Ms.
doesn't
You're allowed
want
to.
talk
I did not
about
ask a
the
question.
crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his state.
He can't just
He's
ask this.
going
I
after
did not
Donald
ask a
Trump.
question.
Meeting will be in order.
As the good congressman from Kentucky just pointed out, there were lots of survivors who had decided, for reasons of their own, never to release their names. That determination was represented to people in Congress, and we built it into our federal law that their names could not be released, and yet you published their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, personally identifying information. If Donald Trump can get $10 billion theoretically from the Department of Justice, how much should these people get for a far worse violation of their privacy rights and a far greater danger established to them in their lives?
She dances, not just to move, but to awaken something forgotten.
I mean, I can't argue with that. I would say that that's a fair question. If the victims haven't received anything at all, yeah, they're victims. And if we have proof and evidence that they're victims, I think that they should receive something. So even if not in comparison to the president, just in regard to the fact that they were wronged and that they're victims.
Do you even know who Chase Mulligan is? You're so obsessed with
I'm going to teach you the rules again. You're the Attorney General of the United States. We have rules here.
You're obsessed with him.
You're the Attorney General of the United States.
You're obsessed with Donald Trump. You're Trump.
Yeah, W chat. Shout out to the chat. I appreciate you guys being interactive and being respectful, at least as much as you can in the chat. Elberg VA guy said, you know we're in trouble as a society when Raskin is actually making sense. Yep, I had to read that because I agree with you. Yo, and Tall Paul, nobody erases your comments, bro. The only time that I or any of my mods censor the chat is if you're being disrespectful to like subs, mods, or if you're just being disrespectful to people in the chat. If YouTube hides your comment, I will make it public, so you don't have to worry about that.
derangement syndrome.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like my time
Mulligan will be
restored. I'd like my
sentenced
time
next week
restored.
in your district. In your district, and you don't even know about it, about keeping children
Time belongs
safe
to
from
the
online
gentleman.
predators.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Maryland. Gentleman can proceed.
Yeah, and I want the whole country to look at this. Because this is the Attorney General of the United States, whose job is law enforcement. We've never had a witness who has misunderstood our rules and been unable to conform his or her conduct to our rules before. We have only 5 minutes. And so we use our time to ask you specific questions.
How long are you giving me to
Excuse
answer?
me, I'm not yielding to you right now. I'd like that second restored too. So, Ms. Bondi, the way it works is we ask you a question and you answer it. And if you go off on a wild goose chase, another tangent, you start reading statistics or you start talking about stuff going on in our district. And by the way, I invite you to my district. Come to my district, but that's not what we're here to do today. Okay, so, and you do that, then we're allowed to say we reclaim our time. At that point, you have to be quiet. You have no choice. You have to be quiet. So I hope you understand the rule of this board. Now, here's what I want to ask you.
Yeah, shout out to her. Her said Raskin is a very intelligent individual and a constitutional scholar. I agree. Like, I actually like Raskin. He has his days, but I just think it's hilarious that he has to explain what we call courtroom etiquette to the Attorney General. Like, this is bar none. Like, he has to actually explain to Pam Bondi how she should behave in court. I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now.
You're law enforcement. We've seen all kinds of evidence of crimes. And when we go over to the Department of Justice for the 4 computers for every member of Congress, we see more evidence of crimes. Will you create a joint task force of the Department of Justice and governors and state attorney generals and district attorneys across the country to investigate the crimes that have taken place against these victims and more than 1,000 like them? The DOJ is not doing its job. Will you create a task force with state and local law enforcement to make that happen?
Gentleman can respond if she wants to.
Thank you, Chairman. He called Chase Mulligan a wild goose chase and didn't even know who he was. He is a defendant in your own district who preyed on girls.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, you know what? If he were part of the Epstein investigation, you wouldn't do anything about it.
Online chat rooms and committed sextortion. Yet he didn't even know in your tiny little district who he was.
According to your department, a child is sexually abused in the United States every 9 minutes. And the vast majority of survivors never get justice. And that's one of the reasons why I think the Epstein case has resonated so deeply with so many Americans. And the other reason, I think, is because it has revealed a 2-tiered system of justice. And the powerful are protected and the survivors rarely get any accountability. And the Epstein files contain evidence of a multi-decade international criminal conspiracy involving some of the wealthiest and the most powerful people in the world. There's evidence of financial crimes, political corruption, sex trafficking, and of course, horrible sexual abuse. And I want to remind everybody, this isn't a game. These are real people, people who have suffered, who are sitting here with us today, and they deserve answers and they deserve accountability. And I'm here to try to get some for them. Now, I've seen some of the unredacted Epstein files, and obviously, as you know, President Trump's name is all over them, but so are the names of other senior Trump officials: Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce; John Phelan, the Secretary of the Navy; and Stephen Feinberg, the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These men were appointed by President Trump to senior positions in his administration. All of them have clear and confirmed ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Attorney General Bondi, yes or no, has the Justice Department asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Epstein?
Excuse me. Secretary Lutnick has addressed those ties himself.
I'm asking you, has the Justice Department specifically asked Secretary Lutnick about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
He has addressed those ties himself.
Has the DOJ asked Secretary Phelan about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know whether he has addressed those or not.
Has the Deputy Secretary Feinberg talked to the Department of Justice about his ties to Jeff.
Let me show you something that makes me furious every time I see it. This is a real tax return from someone making $284,972 per year in a W-2 income. Take a look at this. Line 16, the federal tax alone is $85,231. Now you add in state tax and the total tax burden jumps up to $104.
Epstein. Yes or no? Has the Department of Justice talked to Deputy Secretary Feinberg about his ties to Jeffrey Epstein, which are clearly spelled out in the files? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question. I'm just asking you.
Yeah, I'm stunned that you want to continue talking about.
Oh my gosh.
Epstein
Okay,
instead
I'm
of a
recording my time. I'm asking
murder.
you not a trick question, a simple question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence.
Do you know who Chris Malin is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what I can conclude from what you are saying that you have not talked to them.
What does ties mean?
I think Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does
across
ties
the
mean?
world,
Can you define that?
across the world.
Can you
Prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been exposed in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace. And that's a good first start. And that same
Disgrace is
standard,
not saying the word
this
Chris
same
Malin.
standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes,
You're
this
from
is
a tiny,
pathetic.
beautiful
This is
state.
pathetic, Mr.
Committee will be in
Chair.
order.
I am not asking trick questions here.
You
The
got your
American
5
people
minutes.
have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does
across
ties
the
mean?
world,
Can you define that?
across the world,
Can you
prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been
I'm lost
exposed
in
in the files have resigned their jobs.
So I just want to go back to where she starts talking about ties, and Pam is specifically asking, like, can you define this? Because that kind of happens right before, like, the explosive argument. Well, it's explosive the whole time, but let's just say before it gets worse.
Ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what
What does ties mean?
I can conclude.
What is
time? I'm
murder?
asking you not a trick question, a simple question. Okay, so what is clear is we have evidence.
Do you know who Chris Malin is?
We have evidence that 3 senior officials within the Trump administration have ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And what I
does
can
ties
conclude,
mean?
I can conclude
What does
from what
ties
you are
mean?
saying that you have not talked to them.
What does ties mean? Can
I
you
think
define that?
Americans would be shocked to learn that you are not interested in talking with these officials who have ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
What does
across
ties
the
mean?
world,
Can you define that?
across the world,
Can you
prominent
define
men
ties?
who've been
I'm
exposed
lost
in the files have resigned their jobs in disgrace, and that's a good first start. And that same
So there were a couple people that felt like here Pam Bondi didn't do the greatest job just because, like, some people were saying, well, come on, Pam, you know what ties mean, you know. But in her defense as the attorney general, you know, she's like, no, be specific. Like, don't be vague. What kind of ties are we talking about? Like, they said hi and bye one time. They were in the same place at one time. Like, what are we talking about? They were long-term buddies. Like, so Pam wants more specificity. She's just not taking blatant's like whole tie thing because she feels like it's a trap, essentially.
standard,
not saying the word
this
Chris
same
Malin.
standard should apply here. And Americans want accountability.
Who is Chris Malin?
Was the president
was he?
aware? Please stop talking. It is not your time to ask
was he?
questions. It is not your time. I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chair.
One second.
Time belongs to the gentlelady from Vermont.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce?
Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
You're
This
from
is
a tiny,
pathetic.
beautiful
This is
state.
pathetic,
The
Mr.
committee will be in
Chair.
order.
I am not asking trick questions here. The
got your
American
5
people
minutes.
have a right to know the answers to this. These are senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies, I couldn't tell. By 2008, we knew that Epstein was a convicted sexual abuser. And we now know that Lutnick went to Epstein.
See, I don't think that was okay though. Like the fact that nobody really said anything about that, but you can hear the laughters. I mean, I digress, but you know, she is still the Attorney General.
Epstein's Island in 2012. How was that not a deal breaker for the president? And why aren't you asking questions of the Commerce Secretary about what he saw when he was at the island, which he lied about not ever going to? Why are you not asking these questions? And I see that my time is almost expired, so I will say this. Do the right thing, Attorney General. Meet with the survivors. They have been asking for a year. Meet with the survivors. Do the right thing. I yield back.
Lady yields back. The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes.
May I have 20 seconds of his time?
So that'll be up to the gentleman, but
Absolutely, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you. I was curious if you, Congresswoman, asked Bill Clinton that. Didn't see one tweet, not one. I didn't see one tweet when Joe Biden was in office about Bill Clinton. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once. When he was
Weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to reflect that, you know, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against. Didn't ask Merrick Garland any tweet, not one. I didn't see one tweet when Joe Biden was in office about Bill Clinton. Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once. When he was
Weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to reflect that, you know, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Oh,
is
Jewish.
I just want to be clear.
Oh, do you want to go there, Attorney General? Or do you want to go there? Are you serious? Talking about anti-Semitism to a woman who lost her grandfather in the Holocaust? Really?
the committee will be in order.
Talk to Jared Wise about anti-Semitism.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness because this witness has...
Okay, at that point, Blaine she gets up and she just walks away. She says, really, you want to really talk about anti-Semitism to somebody who lost their grandfather in the Holocaust? And you can see her like angrily kind of cut off her mic and like exit stage left. So yeah, she was pretty upset by the way that Pam went at that. Yeah, Scott Teal said, Jesus, what a child. Yes, what a GD child. Yeah, it's like that. Cynthia says Bondi will definitely answer to somebody. Yeah, eventually. I mean, I'm not going to lie, guys. A lot of people didn't like her approach to it. A lot of people felt like she should have answered more direct, more clear. And let's be honest, Kash Patel's been guilty of that as well. We've seen Kash on trial. We've seen Kash in his Senate hearings. And some people have been disappointed at the way that Kash has answered questions. So, you know, it is what it is. Even people who have voted for Trump and who support his cabinet, they still want, you know, directness. They still want clarity. You know, they don't like when you dance around stuff. The American people still want the truth, essentially. So even if they did vote for President Trump and they support his cabinet, they still get pissed when they see things like this.
Revealed that she has no intentions of answering questions, but instead I'm going to ask some very basic questions really quickly of my colleague, Becca Ballant, if she will answer right or wrong, raping children.
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens.
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States.
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions. instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors, because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughing stock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ, as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country, because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massie, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on. And frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ, because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact,
if you are lacking AI confidence, AI certainty, AI clarity, and
we know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps, because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter. So let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, this is a good one. Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up. And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any pay.
So the day prior, not yesterday's live, but the live before that when we were on longer, I played more of a singular isolated clip of Jasmine Crockett and Pam Bondi. And I'm not gonna lie, people were saying like Jasmine Crockett was cooking and they don't like her. Like there's a lot of people that do not like or support Jasmine Crockett, and they were like, dude, some of the stuff that she was laying out like for Pam Bondi, and she wasn't really letting her speak at the time. It was kind of crazy, like some of the facts that she was spitting out. And this caused like a lot of people to kind of like go after Pam Bondi hearing some of that stuff. So I think it's interesting the way that she laid this out. They kind of get into it a little bit when Pam does start to speak. Like always, these two have clashed often, especially in the past.
Except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history. An attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Bondi, you've got the best lawyer's job in America because your mission is justice and your clients are the American people. But to promote justice for the people, you've got to listen to the victims. Like the women seated behind you today. Those are just some of the hundreds of survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's global sex trafficking ring who are demanding that the truth be told and are demanding accountability for the abusers who trafficked and raped them. You still haven't met with these survivors. So with their permission, let me introduce to you the survivors and late survivors' family members who are present today. There's Teresa Helm. There's Jess Michaels, Laura Bloom McGee, Danny Bensky, Liz Stein, Marina Lacerda, Sky and Amanda Roberts, who are the family of the late Virginia Giuffre, Charlene Richard, and Lisa Phillips. Now, you're not showing a lot of interest in the victims, Madam Attorney General, whether it's Epstein's human trafficking ring or the homicidal governmental violence against citizens in Minneapolis. As Attorney General, you're siding with the perpetrators and you're ignoring the victims. That will be your legacy unless you act quickly to change course. You're running a massive Epstein cover-up right out of the Department of Justice. You've been ordered by subpoena and by Congress to turn over 6 million documents, photographs, and videos in Epstein files, but you've turned over only 3 million. You say you're not turning over the other 3 million because they're somehow duplicative, but we know that there are actual memos of victim statements in there. And you also took down the Department of Justice's prosecution memo from 2019. So it's clearly not all duplicative, but even if it were, why not release it? Just release all the duplicative stuff. In the half you did produce, you redacted the names of abusers, enablers, accomplices, and co-conspirators, apparently to spare them embarrassment and disgrace, which is the exact opposite of what the law ordered you to do. Even worse, you shockingly failed to redact many of the victims' names, which is what you were ordered to do by Congress. Some of the victims had come forward publicly, but many had not. Many had kept their torment private, even from family and friends, but you published their names, their identities, their images on thousands of pages.
Okay, shout out to Politics Joe. You guys can go over to that channel and finish watching the rest of it. Give him his due views. Like, so still staying congruent with where we currently are. We're going to go over to Bill O'Reilly real quick. It's only a 2-minute clip, a little over 2 minutes, but he's talking about some new revelations involving Trump and Epstein. And then after that, we're going to go over to Senator Cory Booker, where they're kind of like erupting on one of President Trump's nominations. Yeah, you know, they're asking where's his KKK hoodie. They're asking him, is he worried about America being less white than what it is? So we're going to get to Cory Booker speaking to him. But before we do that, we're going to go to Bill O'Reilly on the new revelations involving Trump and Epstein.
If you're a side sleeper and you're sleeping on a pillow like this, what you're doing is you're causing a lot of stress on your shoulder.
Epstein files. Now, I don't cover this because I knew it was bogus from the beginning. Because I know Trump, 35 years, I know what he does, I know who he hangs with, I knew this was BS, but the Trump haters desperately want to hang Epstein around him. Now, the latest information, okay, from all of these files is, stay with me, I'm going to walk right through this. 2006, Jeffrey Epstein was under investigation for crimes involving minor girls. That got into the press. Trump called authorities in Palm Beach County, and specifically the sheriff, Michael Ryder. Trump told the sheriff, according to the documents in the Epstein files, okay, you better get Epstein. He's an awful guy. Okay. That same year, 2006, Epstein was indicted. It took 2 years, and he was convicted on state charges. In Florida, he served 18 months in prison. Then he got out of prison and went back to doing the same stuff. You know, come on. The feds did not indict him. Now, there's a lot of controversy about that. Feds should have indicted him, or they made a deal.
Yeah, of course the Fed should have indicted him. Like, I kind of knew this part that Bill's going over. I just, sometimes you forget small details, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, 18 months, what a slap in the face.
I'm not an expert on that. So Trump was basically anti-Epstein before 2006, but now he's on the record. So you would think that everybody would report this the way I just did, and then the hysteria would stop. Nope. CNN comes out and says, well, that indicates that Trump knew what Epstein was doing, and
Yeah, W chat, shout out to PK, GW2RZ. They said, yeah, 18 months, and he did part-time in luxury little jail cell. He left on the weekends. It was pathetic. Yeah, it was. That's why I said, what a slap in the face, because that's, the victims, or the victim at the time, because it was so much early on, but victims, just nothing, no type of justice. And then, this guy, because of who he is, like, he gets to, sit in luxury prison. It's like, what about the person that he hurt? PK says that Bill is older. Bill is an older man. Now he probably suffers from different ailments. I don't think he's drunk here. No, Bill's not drunk here. I just realized what you were saying, PK. Yeah, I saw earlier in the chat somebody asked, yeah, Ron Rhino said, Bill been drinking? No, he's just getting older, man. He's getting older. Like, I've been watching Bill O'Reilly for years. Like, a lot of people don't know that Bill used to cover a lot of rappers back in the day. That's how I even know, like, who Bill O'Reilly is, just from him, just dibbing, dabbing in rappers, interview with rappers and talking to different rappers. So that's how I know him. I like him more in his older age. I think he's a lot more modest than what he used to be and a lot less aggressive.
didn't report it quickly enough, or some stupid spin garbage like that. Now, we're going to define that tomorrow a little more clearly to you, about how dishonest this whole thing is. But that was an important thing about all of these people who spend hours and hours and hours trying to convict Trump of something. And now we have documentation that he was anti-Epstein, and actually CNN comes out and says, well, that indicates that Trump knew. I think that everybody would report this the way I just did, and then the hysteria would stop. Get a deal? I'm not an expert on that. So Trump was basically anti-Epstein before 2006, but now he's on the record. So you would think that everybody would report this the way I just did, and then the hysteria would stop. Nope. CNN comes out and says, well, that indicates that Trump knew what Epstein was doing and didn't report it quickly enough, or some stupid spin garbage like that. Now, we're going to define that tomorrow a little more clearly to you, about how dishonest this whole thing is. But that was an important thing about all of these people who spend hours and hours and hours trying to convict Trump of something. And now we have documentation that he was anti-Epstein and actually informed the authorities in 2006. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime.
All right, shout out to Bill. I mean, hey, like I said, PK agrees with me. He's a lot less aggressive in his older years. So I just, he's known Trump for a long time. I'm not going to say he's necessarily a Trump lover per se. He will He is critical of him when he feels like he's not doing something right or going about it the right way. So I feel like he's fair. Over here, often I say to you guys, look, both sides lie to us. At least that's what I feel like to some degree. So that's why we watch both sides and we gather our information and we just kind of fall, where we land. Like we figure out what these people are telling us, because unfortunately we see the lies on both sides, right? And us as the American people, we just want the truth. So let's go over now to Cory Booker, where he and one of President Trump's nominees had a very interesting exchange. The race baiting was real. I can't stand it. The grifting was real. It's annoying. To me, it just promotes a lot more division, but we see that a lot more. So let's just go to the clip. Let's look at the exchange.
Mr. Carl, I never thought I would have somebody that made a lot of the statements that you've made before the United States Senate, and I would love to discuss some of your comments. You're going to be working.
Now, just so you guys know, this is on Cory Booker's YouTube channel, so that's why it says Trump's shameful nomination. That's not my title.
With international organizations, do you think one race is superior than another race on the planet Earth?
Senator, absolutely not.
You don't. So do you think that America would be weaker if it was, say, 40% Jewish?
Senator, absolutely not in and of itself. I think the problem...
Well, why did you qualify that?
No, Senator, if you let me finish, I do not. I believe that unity, as President Trump has said, rather than diversity, is a greater strength.
But why not simply say it doesn't matter what percentage of our population is Jewish?
Senator, it certainly doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Senator, if I could finish.
So Jeremy Carl, he did get a lot of riff for this, right? Because people, especially people who are more on Cory Booker's side, they agreed to what Cory's saying. They said, okay, so we hear what you're saying, unity over diversity. Does that mean that you're not for diversity? Right? So this is where Jeremy Carl probably got the most pushback at what he was saying. But those people who are familiar with his background, he doesn't have the greatest reputation online for some of the stuff that he's put out there.
As somebody of Jewish origin myself, and I do want to take this moment to say, because there have been some comments made, one of my weaknesses, and we've discussed some that you may think in general are weaknesses, is sometimes I take an idea too far. And I made some comments in interviews about minimizing the effect of the Holocaust that were absolutely wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and defend them here. I just want to be very, very clear on that point. Again, had I been in Germany in that time, even though I'm a sixth-generation American, but had I not, I would have been killed just like anybody else.
I've heard you say that you regret some of your comments about Jews.
Absolutely.
Do you regret any other comments about any other races?
Senator, you would have to reference a certain comment, but I'm certainly not a perfect person, and I'm sure that I've made...
Do you regret any of your comments about Latino Americans?
Senator, I'm sure that if you read me every single comment I'd made about a group, there would be some that, upon consideration...
So you stipulate for this body that you have in your past made comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret?
Senator, thank you for the question. As a Calvinist who believes that we're all infinitely sinful and only redeemed through grace...
See, sir, we're sending you into a very diverse world.
Yeah.
And you can't say unequivocally that America, it doesn't matter what our racial makeup is. You believe it matters.
Listen, I don't know how many Christians I have in the chat, right? But you guys who rock out with me, one for a while, who's been subscribed for a while, or who show up most nights when I'm on here, you guys already know that I'm a Christian. So I'm curious, do you guys know a lot of Calvinists that are racist? Because I don't know many Calvinists that are racist. As a matter of fact, they hold scripture to such a high viewpoint. It's kind of surprising to me, but I guess not so much. If you guys say I have Calvinist friends, or I know Calvinists who are extremely racist, I'm not going to say it would be totally surprising to me. It's just the circle of Calvinists I've been around. I have not seen that. If you guys are familiar with Ligonier Ministries, they would invite Vodi Bakum. He's a pastor that recently passed away. I believe it was last year Vodi passed away. And he would be at a lot of Ligoniers conferences and, you know, a lot of their different engagements speaking. And Vodi was somebody, and not just Vodi, I mean, there would be like other African Americans there. But I'm just wondering if you guys know Calvinists who are like, you know, racist, or because for Jeremy Carl to identify with them, I'm like, that's interesting. You're a Calvinist, and like some of the stuff you put out online like goes totally against scripture. So I would think he's aware of that, but he seems a little bit ignorant there.
Matters what the racial makeup of America is.
Senator,
Do you believe it matters, yes or no, what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, to echo President Trump, I believe
I don't want you to
unity rather
echo
than diversity.
President Trump. I want you to answer my question, yes or no. Does it matter what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, I'll stand on my comment. Thank you.
What's your comment? Answer the question, yes or no.
Echoing President Trump, I believe unity rather than diversity is a strength.
So you have a problem if America grew to be more Latinos than white people?
Senator, the individual group is not important. This is a cross-societal...
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement theory?
Senator, thank you for that question. This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
You think there's an active effort to, quote-unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are Black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority?
Senator, I never said anything like that, nor do I actually believe that. I want to be very clear that regardless of country, if people generally share more in common,
Can I read you what you said? Because it sounds like this. You said the Great Replacement is real, and they are going to try to make you pay for it. Who is they?
Senator, thank you for that question. I simply don't know from you reading that one isolated comment.
So this is the problem. You make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about Blacks. And you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a threat to the United States of America and create an us versus them. And the only interpretation I can have of us versus them is it's white people against others, which sounds deeply racist to me. That somehow you think our country's greatness depends upon its ethnic diversity as long as white people have more numbers than others. That does not sound like a nation that was founded with the belief that all people are created equal and equal before the eyes of God. It sounds like you have a racial hierarchy. There's no way for me to read this in any other way.
Senator,
you have said our country, based upon religious diversity, based upon ethnic diversity, based upon racial diversity, you have indicated that somehow those make America weaker or stronger. That God forbid our nation grows in population, that then you suddenly say, I'm aggrieved, and they are trying to replace us. This is the United States of America. We are one nation under God, but you cut us up and divide us along racial lines.
Senator, respectfully, I do not think that they do.
You cannot use the word respectfully, because you do not respect me.
Oh,
you
no,
look
actually,
upon me as my color of my skin. You say holidays like Juneteenth are racial hustles. Don't come here and hustle me.
Senator,
you have said statements that other nations are going to look upon you and read plainly. When you go to a country of a different religion or ethnicity, you have discriminated against Jews in your writing. You have discriminated against others, and then you claim yourself as a victim. Mr. Chairman, I've never seen such a blatantly racist individual who doesn't even deny that he's made these statements, but wants to tell us that he regrets them, and yet still believes that this body, who is committed to principles of equality, who is committed to ideals of our founders, that you're not in direct violation to the ideals and values and principles. And the last thing I want to say, I watched people beat others when they attacked the Capitol, viciously attack police officers. Brian Sicknick, a New Jersey resident, was beaten near death and would die days later.
Yeah, shout out to Elberg VA guy. Look, Booker's trying hard for that Emmy. Honestly, in my opinion, he deserves a Grammy. Like, this is just classic Cory, right? Who else does this a lot? What's the guy's name? He's usually up there with Schumer a lot. Hakeem Jeffries. Like, this is just classic Cory Booker. Just like I know when I'm seeing classic Hakeem, they'll ask Hakeem a question and he'll dance around it in 87 ways. And sometimes I'm like, God, Hakeem, just answer the question. So, I mean, Cory does this. Like, Cory's theatrics are like none other. Like, he's almost bar none. I feel like when it comes to his hearings, like he outdoes most Democrats, I feel like. But Jeremy Carr, like, I'm just saying, he does have a lot of things out there that people are very indifferent about him. Some people can't stand him, if I'm honest with you guys. They just call him a racist bigot. They can't stand him. They hate the fact that Trump has him there, and then other people love the fact that Trump has him there. We know how it goes in America. We know how this works. So how we're going to end the live stream after this clip is we're actually going to end it with a Christian clip. We're going to go over the Truth Be Told, and he is covering how, power hides evil, how it works to hide evil. We know that God ultimately is sovereign and he is in control, but we have people on this earth that are in power and they actually work behind the scenes to cover up evil. So that's going to be the next clip that we go to, but let's finish this one up first.
And you say those violent felons, you literally have said that they were treated worse than people during Jim Crow, when thousands of Americans were lynched, murdered, beaten, and killed. You equate Capitol Hill rioters with receiving worse treatment than Americans during Jim Crow, which even some of the worst people who participated in that violence and beatings have come forward decades later.
Here's what, where's my guy at? L.A. Berg. Here's one thing I will say. Cory Booker is, if a room is full of emotional, far left liberals, right? And you are a Republican and you're going against Cory Booker and he's up and he has the floor. Oh yeah, it's a wrap for you. Like, it's OVA. Like, Cory Booker is that guy when it comes to like he's just gonna play on the heartstrings. Like, this is what he does. You know what I mean? This is why people come for Cory and they say he always has theatrics, because I mean, he gets passionate, he gets worked up, he starts up with a speech, and I mean, like, he goes from there. So that's why I said, for me, LA, like, this is classic Cory. Like, I watch him often in his Senate hearings, so I'm like, yep, this is classic Cory Booker.
And said I was wrong. It is shameful that when this body ran for its life, when they had gallows for the vice president put outside, when they tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power, that you would equate those people to the folks that were victimized and terrorized by white nationalist organizations like the KKK. Sir, you have no decency. You have no honor. You say inflammatory things because it thinks it will ingratiate you to those who are paying your salary. And you sit here before me and try to wrap yourself in the American flag? Well, I believe in this nation. I believe in the principles. I believe in those who fought and died for our country. You disgrace that legacy and the ideals that we all swear an oath to uphold. that does not believe in one nation for one people and another people. Dear God, I pray for us if we let somebody like you represent us to the diverse nations of the world as representing the values of our country.
Senator, I absolutely
yield.
deplore Jim Crow, but I do not agree with the characterization that you have done of my.
Represent us to the diverse nations of the world as representing the values of our country.
Senator, I
Chairman,
absolutely
yield.
deplore Jim Crow, but I do not agree with the characterization that you have done of my views.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for appearing here today. Mr. Carl, I think it's just heartbreaking.
Guys, this is a shorter clip, but it's a different perspective and a different vantage point with Jeremy Carl. And those of you guys who rock out with me, you should know I'm gonna play it. You guys know I'll play both sides. I'm offended by very little, right? Tough skin, right? We did a Marine here. So it's like we watched both sides so we could get the truth. I want you guys to see this clip. It's a lot shorter than Cory's clip.
That you have been nominated for this position and that you've reached a panel. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for appearing here today. Mr. Carl, I think it's just heartbreaking that you have been nominated for this position and that you've reached a panel before the United States Senate. But I do want to give you a chance to go a little bit deeper in your explanations of your personal beliefs. They are directly relevant to your fitness to serve.
So Mr. Murphy here, and I'm not gonna lie, he's, as far as grace, I feel like we're gonna see a different perspective here. He's a little bit better with Cory than Grace. So that with Cory, when it comes to grace, he wants Mr. Carl to expound on his beliefs, but I feel like we're gonna kind of see it go sideways here either way. But because he's not a black guy questioning Jeremy Carl, and this is now a white man, that's why I wanted to like pick up on this clip, because I got a chance to watch this clip. I wasn't going to share it with you guys, but I said, you know what, I'm going to play it just because we watched Cory's clip. Then we're going to jump over to Truth Be Told.
You already have had some of your statements read to you, but I'd like you to respond to at least a few of them. One of the things you have said is that anti-white discrimination is the most pervasive and politically salient form of racism today. So do you continue to believe that anti-white discrimination is more salient than the discrimination faced today by blacks, Latinos, Muslims, or other American groups?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. And thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind. Because maybe you'll suggest that everything is fine now. Let's rewind a year ago. A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
yeah.
Senator,
certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination, at least prior to the Trump administration fixing this, than black Americans?
On average, Senator, yes, that's correct, and I'm not running away from that statement at all.
You have made several statements about your worry regarding the erasure of white culture in America. I understand Irish American culture. I understand Italian American culture. I maybe don't understand white culture as well. Tell me.
Chat, how do we feel about what Jeremy's saying? I want you guys to share your opinion in the chat. I know my demographics, so you guys know how I look. I know how you guys look. I know most of what my audience looks like. I don't care about that. I want you guys to tell me if you agree with what Jeremy's saying. Like, do you feel like Do you feel like what he's saying is true? Do you guys feel like a year ago white Americans were one of the most discriminated groups in America? So yeah, share your opinion in the chat. You guys know that I don't censor the chat. I don't block people. Unless of course somebody's being ignorant. But you guys know that that's the only way that I do that. If everybody's being kosher, then we're good.
The values, the white values that you believed are being erased by the current American government or prior American governments?
Senator, thank you for that question. I would say that it's not, I didn't use the word values, I used the word culture. I think that anytime you have large degrees of mass immigration, you're going to have a change in culture, especially if they're coming from culturally dissimilar backgrounds. And no matter what group it is, if it were in China, it would be the same thing. If it were in New Guinea, it would be the same thing.
Yeah, but tell me about what that means. I mean, culture is values, right? It's expressions of identity. Tell me what is being erased. I mean, give me some examples of what you believe are being erased about white identity. What is white identity to you?
Well, Senator, thank you for that.
Tell me how it's different than other identities.
Senator, I think the question of identity is something that lots of scholars
you can do a sermon on identity, but just tell me how you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity.
Senator, it would thank you again for the question, and genuinely thank you for finally letting me have a chance to explain some of my comments a little bit. But I would say that, they could be things like going to a certain type of Christian church and that sort of culture, which is very different. I mean, you can all be Christians, right, in a certain environment, but African-American Christians might worship differently than Chinese Christians that might worship differently than white Christians. Of course, sometimes you have multi-ethnic churches, but things like that, certain types of Anglo-derived culture that comes from our history.
Like what?
Let me think about this. Senator, I would say if you were to look at the book by one of your former Senate colleagues, Born Fighting, about the sort of Scotch-Irish military culture and certain, pride that went with that would be one example. Obviously, you could have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more.
But you're worried about white culture. You're not worried about, you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than black identity.
Senator, again, thank you for
spent a lot of time talking about this and writing about this.
Yeah, no.
You're struggling with this. But you should be fairly easily, I would assume, able to tell us your thoughts on how white identity is different than other kinds of identity and how it's being erased.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. I'm just trying to be I'm just trying to be very precise. Because I'm here in front of a Senate committee, I would say that the white church is very different than the black church in terms
to tell us your thoughts on how white identity is.
Yeah, W chat. Shout out to the chat. Emmy said EMIGODOI. Shout out to you. Emmy said he's not arguing his point very well. No. He's not. I agree with you there. Like listening, John K said, like listening to this guy makes me pissed at my race. And any of Irish descent who agrees with this guy forgets his heritage. I mean, look, it's his opinion. That's how he feels, right? But Emmy says one thing, right? Emmy God says he's not arguing this point very well. No, he's not. And you want to know why I think he's not arguing his point very well? I think because really his thought process is founded in hate. It's based in hate. Yeah, we could say gaslighting, shout out to Starbound, but that's what I think where he's at foundationally. I think it's just hate. And you know what? That doesn't bother me, because I already know that hate and evil exists in the world. What bothers me is when people can't be transparent about it. They can't be honest about it. He can't just say, you know what, I just rather be around white people and no other race. Maybe if I had a couple friends, maybe I would want them to be Asian. He's not bold enough to just come out and say that. This is where a lot of the times on the live stream we've talked and I told you guys, I'm so unbothered by like some of the stupidity that I see in like the low IQ conversations, that I'm just like, listen, you get further with people if you're just transparent. This is why whether it's out in Tennessee, Arizona, Idaho, Utah, I don't really care. If they're like, oh my God, they're out there building an all-white community and they said nobody can be out there except white people. Okay, so what? So what? Like, that's what... Guess what? There are places where they're building all black communities and they don't want anybody to accept black people. So what? Right? Just like, I mean, I go to Chinatown all of the time. For the most part, whether you're black or white, you can go down there and spend your money. But if they're transparent, they don't really want any of us down there. That's why it's called Chinatown, right? Even though it's in America. See, this is what I'm saying. So it's kind of like, that's why I don't think he's making a good point at all. Like, I don't think he's defending his own point well, because I think his point is just foundationally based in hate.
Is different than other kinds of identity, and how it's being erased.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. I'm just trying to be I'm just trying to be very precise. Because I'm here in front of a Senate committee, I would say that the white church is very different than the black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Food ways could often be different.
And those
music could be different.
Those are being erased.
Music could be different. If you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access white churches or white food or white music is being erased?
Senator, again, thank you for the question. What I would say is the biggest thing, because actually, contrary to many of the comments that have been shown, racial nationalists have been very, very critical of my work, because they correctly say that I'm actually, of course, not a racial nationalist, which I'm not. I'm a civic nationalist. I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time, that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized, and I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better. That
I have to disagree with that.
You haven't been able to really coherently answer any of my questions about how you define white culture, how you define the threat that's posed. I appreciate you being very honest that you believe that white Americans are subject to greater amounts of discrimination in this country than black Americans. I do not think that's a sentiment that is shared broadly on this committee. It is all what makes you just wildly unqualified to take this post. I'm well over my time. Thank you.
Well, Senator, I do appreciate you letting me actually respond. I genuinely do. So thank you.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna lie there. Emo God made a good point when he said he wasn't arguing this point. Well, he wasn't. Senator Murphy did make him look pretty dumb. He did make him look pretty bad there. Or we could just say that Jeremy Carl is not great at arguing his point of, you know, why he wants what he wants or he believes what he believes. And that's fine. I think when it's based in hate, it's going to be like that. What do I want to call his name? DFAULUSE. Listen, you're allowed to put your opinion in the chat. I don't really care. Here's the thing about being stupid, though. Right? That's the only thing that's going to get you kicked out of the chat, right? So I don't really care. If you love being white, that's great. There's people who love being Asian. There's people who love being black. But if you're dumb in the chat, I'm going to have to put you in timeout. And I don't like when people are a distraction in the chat, because in my chat, people actually like to have higher IQ conversations. So stop writing the same stupid stuff or I'm going to put you in timeout. All right, guys. So we're going to go over the truth be told now. We're going to end the live stream with a Christian clip. So he's going to talk about how power covers evil. We know that evil exists in the world and wickedness is real, but sometimes we don't think about how evil and wickedness is real in people, right? We look at people and we want to say, surely, like, every person at their core is a good person, and that's just simply not true, and we as Christians know this. So let's go over the truth be told and let's see how he covered this power covers evil. Shout out to Jeremiah.
With this incredible new product, you can finally get rid of the yellow bits between your teeth. An email from Jeffrey Epstein reads, "Where are you? Are you okay? I love the torture video." The FBI redacted the receipt's name. Why? Because he's wealthy. Because he's powerful. Because the system protects its own. And so today you're going to hear Republicans blame Democrats and Democrats blame Republicans. But Scripture says something different. Our battle is not against flesh and blood, but a united spiritual war, a united front from the heavenly realms. I'm not trying to make this overly dramatic. This is the truth. And this is a very real opportunity we have right now in front of us to open up our eyes and to see the truth. That's been there all along. Evil permeates our society, both sides of the political aisle. And it's time that we call it for what it is. It's deception. So I'm going to share with you some clips. I got 3 clips I want to share with you. I want to talk about it. The first one, I don't even want to say, because it's just, I just want you to see it for yourself. I'll tell you who made the video. It's actually from Asmund Gold. If you've never heard of him, he's a YouTuber that hangs out in his upstairs and just makes videos about all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying I agree with everything he says. However, the way he puts this, the way he...
Shout out to Osmond Gold. We react to him on the channel often. He's a channel favorite. Hey, shout out to him. Okay, so that's who he covered. Let's take a listen.
The way he put these emails together and said what he said, it gets a point across. This is evil, evil, evil. And then we're going to talk about and get into some of the politics, but I'm not going to be talking about politics. I only serve one king. His name is Jesus. So hit that like button. Let's reach out to more people, and let's get into this together.
People going crazy think they found a code word for human. Wait, what?
Jerky equals...
Hope you are feeling better. Did we analyze the jerky? Why didn't we get jerky this week? I also added more to the jerky and ginger lemon.
Bro, that's crazy. Did that just say jerky equals child meat? What is happening? What, like...
Together.
People going crazy think they found a code word for human. Wait, what? Hope you are feeling better. Did we analyze the jerky? Why didn't we get jerky this week? I also added more to the jerky and ginger lemongrass. Thank you so much. Super cool. Beef jerky, delicious. Jojo is here and we'll walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. We'll walk the jerky over to Jeffrey. Why would jerky walk around? What would it do?
Like, again, I don't... We have to realize that there are people that were hurt bad, all right? Children, okay? And I believe that's happening. I really believe that's happening. So when he's saying this, like, let that come into your emotions a little bit. We need to get a little riled up about this because something has happened to the innocents and people are getting away with it. And I for one, I'm tired of it. I honestly, this is like a righteous anger that's been building in me. Because I love those who are made in God's image, and I hate evil.
Yeah. Delicious lunch, beef jerky. Steve and I are very grateful, above all, for your friendship. Some of these emails are so wholesome, aren't they? It's too bad they eat kids. A small insulated bag would be fine. I don't remember checking it. No need for crazy amounts of ice. One should do. There is 1 bag of beef jerky in the fridge. Please get it. Also, Blank has more at her place. Please get it from her as well. I suppose it needs to be in a cold, insulated bag. Just wanted to touch base about jerky. J.E. said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. He said he has 6 bags of it in the downstairs freezer. Why would you freeze jerky?
You don't freeze
Steve
jerky.
needs a 6 to 8 ounce portion of jerky. I gave you all the jerky we had, and it lasted only half the amount of time it was meant to. I felt like it was more important for you to have the jerky to eat during my time off. My plan is to make a batch before I leave for LSJ, and some of that
That's
will
the
go to
island.
Steve, and the rest will go to you at LSJ when I arrive. Little St. James Island. And that's what LSJ must mean. So logically, that means that they were doing this off of the island. Steve Hansen is sending...
And you notice the redactions. You notice that the names are covered out, are covered up. We're only going to watch a few more seconds of this, and we're going to get into the next one.
Jerky to your attention overnight. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Jeffrey Epstein is asking to bring him more jerky.
Bro, like, I'm cooked right now. Do we understand what we're listening to? Like, Osmond goes reading an email. I mean, a lot of them are redacted as hell, but he's reading emails about basically, what did they do? Did they chop the children up and put them, did they chop some of them up? Like, we already saw him say that jerky equals child meat, and we just you heard Jeremiah say, like, you don't freeze jerky. I mean, I guess, like, I knew some people, like, when I was stationed in South Carolina, they would do that to, like, their deer jerky, but I guess they did it, I guess if they were, I don't know, like, keeping stock of it. But I'm like, dude, what is happening right now? Like, why are they, like, I'm like, well, they, like, keeping them on ice. Did they chop some of them up? There was, like, some Jeffrey Dahmer stuff going on. Like, the way he's reading these emails, it sounds crazy.
Flying in on Friday, I will bring jerky. Is there a time I could come say hi and drop off the beef jerky?
Watching the art.
Like I said in the earlier video, I've never talked about pizza as much as these guys do. I've definitely never talked about jerky as much as these people are talking about it. You don't walk jerky. You don't put it in a freezer. It's jerky. It's the point. Like, you don't have to freeze that. You can leave it out because it's cured. It's processed in a way that you don't have to do that. We know what they're up to. So let's talk about what our politicians, what they're doing about it. What are they doing about it? Let's go to this first one here.
Yesterday, Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful.
All right, shout out to the chat. Fairly Legal 1985, the year I was born, says, yes, according to some of the files, they tortured and sacrificed the babies and children. Some of the children were crying, talking about them being made to cut the heads off of babies, etc. I don't know if I was paying much attention to that part, because I haven't heard much part about, like, the child sacrifice. I think now that you say that, I might have heard a little bit about it. But, I mean, obviously, there's truth to that, because based on what they're reading right now, I'm like, dude, that's why I'm asking. I'm like, what were they doing? Like, chopping the kids up? Like, what's happening here? They're talking about freezing it and walking it, and this person wants a 6 to 9 ounce. I'm like, what? Oh, my gosh.
Powerful men.
That's good.
These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public?
Why are you protecting them?
And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files.
Yeah, let me stop right there.
Justice.
Let's go to this first one here.
Yesterday, Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men.
That's good.
These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massie and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public?
Why are you protecting
and if
them?
we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files.
Yeah, let me stop right there. I mean, you got 6 men in 2 hours.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. I mean, I know some people are like, well, it could always be more. 1, 6 is a lot, and 2, it could be more. But like they said, there's already still 70 to 80% of everything is redacted. And that's crazy because if we think about 3 million more files, if they found 6 in 2 hours, it's just like, if we just left, I'm like, man, if we just kept that as an average, it's like, there's no telling that points to thousands of people, not even hundreds. That's crazy.
That's all it took for 2 congressmen to find 6 wealthy, powerful names that the Department of Justice was hiding. The Department of Justice was hiding these names. Not classified for national security, not redacted to protect victims, hidden to protect predators, potential predators. Let me just say that, potential. And if they found 6 names in just 2 hours, what's buried in the rest of the 3 million pages? Well, here's what we know. 70 to 80% of the Epstein files are still redacted. Survivor testimonies naming rich and powerful men who went to the island, who went to his ranch, who did things to children. All hidden. The law says punish the perpetrators, protect the victims, but they did the opposite. Horrible. Let's keep watching.
But the story gets worse. The reality is that Donald Trump's FBI scrubbed these files in March.
Now, I just want to say, he's naming Donald Trump. You're going to see name calling, blame shifting, and that's the problem. And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. So right now, he's already saying it's his FBI. I hate how they always turn everything into politics. I don't know if he's right. He might be right. He's probably telling the truth. I don't know. But I don't want to get involved in politics. Like I said, we have one king, and he has justice.
Long before Thomas Massie and I passed the Epstein Transparency Act. Now, my bill is clear. The Epstein Transparency Act requires them to unredact those FBI files. And yet the Justice Department said to me and to Congressman Massie, we just uploaded whatever the FBI sent us. And guess what? The FBI sent scrubbed files. That means the survivor's statement to the FBI naming rich and powerful men who went to Epstein's island, who went to his ranch, who went to his home and used underage girls or saw underage girls being paraded, they're all hidden. They're all redacted. It's a little bit of a farce. They're inviting all the members of Congress to go to see the Department of Justice, quote unquote, unredacted files, but they've got all redacted files from the FBI. And it's not the fault of the Justice Department attorneys. They were just told upload things that Donald Trump's FBI had already scrubbed. It's a blatant violation of the Epstein Transparency Act, but it also asks a fundamental question. Who are they protecting?
It's a good question. Who are they protecting? The Epstein class, we're going to call it. The people who can accumulate wealth and power and never face consequences. Now, I want you to know something. He is blaming Trump's FBI. But in a moment, you're going to hear the other side blame Biden's DOJ. But I really, like I said, I don't want us to fall into this blame game. Come on. Because if you've been around long enough and are open with what we're continuing to see, this is not about one administration. I will never, ever fall into that. I'm telling you, it's about a system that protects the powerful, no matter who's in office. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 15 says, acquitting the guilty and condemning the innocent, the Lord detests them both. Our God, the God, hates injustice. He doesn't care what...
acquitting the guilty and condemning the innocent. That's one of my favorite Bible verses in Proverbs. Like, the whole book is good. It's one of the books of wisdom. But I mean, I was waiting until Jeremiah got to a Bible verse, and then I said I was going to pause this because I'm going to use this to start the live stream tomorrow. Normally I end or start the live stream with a Christian clip. You guys know that. Shout out to Emmy Guy. He said, and to think people think humanity is progressing. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think humanity is progressing. I don't. When I sit down and I think about what I understand about Scripture, I kind of agree with a lot of the like, I don't want to get like too much into this until later tomorrow, but I agree more with like the pastors that talk about us being closer to like end times. I don't talk about it a lot because, you know, you hear so many pastors talk about it. And sometimes I do feel like they abuse it and they use it in kind of like a weird way. But we've been in end times for years now. If we think about it, since Jesus has left and he will return. But I think we're a lot closer than we've ever been. And we say that every single day. Every time a day passes by, you know, we say we're closer. But I say that to say, like, no, I don't think it's progressing. You know, I don't think that I see more love in the world or more kindness, right? There are 9 fruits of the Spirit. I don't think that I see those 9 fruits at work in every single person that I encounter. I do know, though, as Christians, that we are called to make sure that we are showing those things as we interact with people, because we don't know the day of Christ's return, right? We even we even talked about this in our small group Bible study last night. We're going through the book of Ephesians, and one of the pastors touched on, like, it's so important for us to share the gospel with people because the church is an amalgamation. You know, it's a mixture of people, right? The church doesn't consist of just people who are saved. The church also consists of people who make proclamation that they are saved, but they in fact are not. Right. And that's why we see parable in the Bible of the sheep and goats, right? The wheat and tares. Like, this is why this exists, because we have to be very intentional with making sure we share the gospel in whatever way we can, because we don't know the day of Christ's return. Right. And we know that one thing that God has put on us to do above anything is to go out into the world, into different nations, and to make disciples, right, of all nations. So I just think that this is a very cool thing for us to watch, because it talks about the cover up of evil. And I bet you guys don't hear a lot of sermons about that on a Sunday morning in church. But I mean, man, if you did, it would make for a good sermon, because it's a real thing. We have people that will literally cover up evil. And that's a scary thing. It's grotesque, you know, it's scary, it's gut wrenching, and it's a real thing. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on the corner and on this live stream. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, my plan is to bring you guys 2 live streams. It depends on how it goes. So I want to do the first one pretty early in the day. Every Saturday, I have a men's group at my church that I go to. So that is why I don't jump on live stream super early with you guys on Saturday, because I am always at a men's group in my church. Next month, I have something coming up that we do called a bunch of church do called a walk to Emmaus. So you guys probably won't see me for a good 3 days. That'll be in March. That's like this long weekend where we kind of go, and it's like you have no phone, you have no car, I'm like, yo, you guys better not be trying to kill me. But, you know, you go out into the woods, and, you know, you guys know Emmaus in the Bible, about the 2 disciples that were walking on the road to Emmaus, and they were having a conversation. Jesus had just been crucified, and then he appears among them, and they're talking, and he's hidden from them. So it's like they're kind of walking with a stranger, but they're with Jesus the whole time. You know, then they keep walking, they get to the house, they urge Jesus to come in and have dinner with them. He does. He prays, he breaks bread, then their eyes are open and they realize that it's him. Some translations read that they realize it's him before they even get to the house, just on the road walking. So that's what Emmaus is, and that's where I'll be at in March. So because I go live pretty much every day except Sunday, I have my off weeks, but not normally. Most of the time you guys see me on here 6 days a week. You won't see me at least for like 3 to 4 days that week. So I have to say that because you guys will probably be like, what's going on with Q? I think that's like March 5th to like 8th. around that time when I'll be going to that. But yeah, I'll jump back on with you guys in a few hours for the Saturday live stream. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Yeah, so until next time, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, love yourselves, love one another, be peaceful, tell somebody about Jesus.